In this video, we're going to take a look at animating. We're going to take our crow here and animate him from his neutral position and have him fly off the screen. Now we've already established our character. We've weighted him, we've added a skeleton, we've rigged him. He's ready to go. Well, we do want to make sure and check his control handles and make sure that they are all zeroed out and that we don't have any extra values anywhere or any type of history that might cause a problem. He's already nice and clean, so we're ready to add keyframes. To begin the animation, I'll select a handle and set up a couple of keyframes. And we'll be using Auto Key in order to animate the entire character. So I've selected the body. Now we'll go over, and I don't really know exactly everything that I'll be animating yet. So I'm going to grab the translate and rotates, and we'll add a keyframe to those. Most likely we're going to use these. So we'll right click and choose key selected. All right, now we can begin. My auto key is turned on. I'm going to hit W and move to frame 30. And I'll translate him down in the Y just a little bit here. And then we'll move him forward just to kind of get him to spring off the ground there a little bit. And notice my auto key has picked up the changes. Now let's move out to frame 60. And I'll translate him up in the Y just a little bit as he starts to spring off here. And then we'll pull him forward a bit more. And let's also add some rotation here. And we'll bring that down to about there. Now I'll go back and scrub through just to see what we've got so far. You can see he leans down and then leans into it as he starts to take off. Next, I'm going to select the root here, and I want to add keyframes to it because the root control is actually what will raise him off the ground there. To add those keyframes, I want to return back to frame 1. And again, I will key the translate and rotate. And auto key will then do the rest for me. So there we have a good frame there at frame 1. Let's move out to frame 30. And here at frame 30, I don't want him to lift off the ground yet. We want him to stay stationary. So I'm going to go back to my channels. They're still selected, and we'll just keyframe those at 0 again. So we'll choose key selected. And then let's move out to frame 60. And here we'll start to give him just a little bit of a lift. So I'll grab him in the Y, and we'll raise this up. It might be a little too far. Let's bring that back down just a touch. And we'll also add just a bit of rotation here in the X. And again, we can scrub through. He just starts to lift off. And let's go to frame 90. And we'll continue here. We're going to grab the translate Y, give him a bit of a lift here. And then let's pull him forward as he starts to gain his momentum. And we want to angle that body as well, so we'll rotate that further in the X channel. And then let's go out to our very last frame, frame 120. And we'll translate him in the Y, raising him up just a bit more. And then in the Z, we need to pull him forward. Somewhere in that ballpark is good. And also just a little more translate on the X. Not too much. Now we can also at any point in time come back over here and just type in a value, but we're kind of just roughing it for right now. So we're just guessing and just kind of seeing how those values look. That looks pretty good. I think we can go with that. And now let's bring him back to frame 1 again, and let's get those wings in there. Now the left wing is already driving the right wing. So I will only need to animate one side of this. We've already made those connections in the node editor. So I'm going to select that first joint, and you can see, let's just give this a little bit of a rotate there. We can see that that is connected. And let's go to our rotation values. And I'm only going to add keyframes to the rotates, especially because this is a joint. We cannot get rid of those translation values. So I'm not keyframing any of those. And I don't want to move or translate the joint either, because that's going to screw up our geometry as well. So we just want to rotate those. So I'm going to right click at frame 1 here, and choose Key Selected. And let's move out to frame 30. And let's give this a bit of rotation. We'll first bring his wings back just a little bit. I think we'll round this off. Let's just go to 3.5. And then we'll move this in the Y axis. And we'll bring that up. That should be good right there. Then let's move out to frame 60. And we'll bring those wings way back as he's going to have to push off a bit with them in order to get some upward movement. And now let's go just a little bit further out to frame 70. And we're going to bring those wings down. And let's grab in the Y and pull the wings back. Something like that can work. And let's move out to frame 80. And we'll rotate this in the X, bringing this back up, giving him a good little flap there. And let's see what we've got. Pretty good. And then we'll go out to frame 90. And at frame 90, we basically want to repeat what we did at frame 70. So with the joint still selected, I'll click on frame 70, and then I will middle mouse on frame 70 and just drag that to frame 90. I'll then select my channels, right click, and do Key Selected. And I can take a look, and now frame 70 is down, frame 80 comes back up, and then I've got frame 90, which is my copied frame 70. Now we can actually do this a couple times. We can now take frame 80, and we'll middle mouse and drag frame 80 out to frame 100. And again, Auto Key does not pick this up, so I need to right click and choose Key Selected. And one more, let's take 90, move it out to 110, Key Selected, and we'll grab 100 and move that to 120 and Key Select. And now I'll scrub through here. We've a nice consistent flapping of his wings. Let's get some head action in there. We need to take his head. We'll go back to frame 1, and I'm only going to key my rotates for right now, so we'll just key those. And let's key the translate as well. I think we'll get a little bit more motion in there. So we'll key those, and let's move out to frame 30. And let's translate that. Switch back to our channel box. And we'll bring his head up just a bit. Let's take that down. He's kind of looking to see where he's getting ready to fly off to. And then we'll rotate this as well and bring that. And let's go out to frame 60. And now he can raise that head up just a bit. We don't want to go too far. And let's translate the head back up just a touch. At frame 90, we'll again do a little bit of translation here. And I'm also going to translate that in the Z just to bring his head back. And then let's rotate and raise his head up so he knows where he's going. Now let's do the legs there. We want those legs to look like they're actually lifting off of the ground. Right now they're looking pretty static. I'm going to select both of those control handles. And let's go ahead and we'll just key both of these. And we'll move out to frame 30. And let's keep that at 0. We still want to keep those feet nice and planted. And then let's move to frame 60. And I'm going to shift his legs backward a little bit as if he's pulling off of the ground there. The upper body should pull on the legs, so his legs are still trying to stay planted to the ground there. So we'll shift those back just a touch. And then he lifts off the ground there at frame 90. And let's rotate to the side here. And we'll rotate that in the X. Get those way back there, like that, so that it looks like he's actually lifted those off of the ground. And we'll hit play. Going a little bit slow here, but just so that we can see our actual keyframes, we've got pretty decent motion. Then we can come back and clean that animation up with some other tools.